Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Advanced Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I, Riku, play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! On Dueling Book Ranked. Today, we are playing Generaider. Generaider has long been one of my favorite decks. This is Generaider. Generaider is a control mid-range. It's hard to tell with Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, really, to put them into these categories, but really it's a control to mid-rangey deck that aims to control the game with the power of Generaider Boss Stage and your Generaider monsters. Boss Stage cares about your opponent drawing cards and gets you a boss out of your deck and summons a bunch of fodder for the boss to sack off for their own effects. Harr is an Omni Negate. Hela is a Reborn. Mardel tutors for a card. Nidhogg is a Summon Negate. And Vala is Extension. The key pieces in this deck are Vala, and Leviathan, Generaider Boss of Shadows. Vala lets you make a rank 9 on turn 1, or possibly multiple rank 9s depending on what your hand looks like. And Leviathan is some of the best interaction printed on any monster whatsoever. It can, as a quick effect, be tributed off to special summon your Jormungandr, Generaider Boss of Eternity, and attach a bunch of materials to it from anywhere on the field. So your opponent puts 2 Ryzeal monsters on board, you go Leviathan, summon Jormungandr, and suddenly the Jormungandr is A, huge, and B, your opponent doesn't have a board anymore. Beyond that, the deck is playing a few cute techie pieces. We've got a QQ Enagon, which can reveal a level 9 in your hand and special summon this and that, but locks you out of the extra deck except for rank 9 or higher Xyz monsters. And in addition, it makes the rank 9 Xyz monsters made with it much larger. 900 attack and defense is nothing to blink at, especially with Leviathan getting to a solid 3,400 attack. We also got a copy of Trias Hierarchica. Because the tokens that the Generaider Boss Stage summons out are fairies, you can use the Trias in your graveyard to quick effect sack off the tokens, special summon it out, and pop a card your opponent controls, and if you're all in on it, you can also draw 2 cards. Because your level 9 monsters are complete and utter bricks in your hand, we've got 2 copies of Kujikiri Curse to put them into the graveyard, where they are much easier to recur. Hela is a powerful, powerful piece to be able to turn any of your fodder into, for example, a Harr. We've got 3 copies of World Legacy Monstrosity. This also lets you pretty easily get into rank 9 monsters. This lets you go through an Enter Blathnir, which can loop a card out of your opponent's hand. And we've got, of course, the 3 Loptr. As for our hand trap package, we're on 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Ghost Belle, 3 Fuwalos, 3 Imperm, 3 Nibiru. Almost forgot about the Nibiru. The alt art is still confusing me, but this is the one that I like looking at better. Ash is good, Droll is powerful. I think that Ghost Belle is pretty powerful in the current metagame, but if it's not powerful in a given circumstance, it's a pretty easy one to side out. Nibiru is great for combo decks that might go over the top of us. Fuwalos is busted, and Imperm is Imperm. We've also got a copy of Called by the Grave as protection and terraforming to find our Generaider Boss Stage. This deck lives and dies by its ability to find Boss Stage. Mardel is your next best way to get into Boss Stage. Mardel is only tutoring Boss Stage. You'll notice that there are no other back row in this deck. In the extra deck, we've got a copy of Centurion Legadia, which is just the best generic level 12 synchro to go into. Summon out a 9, normal summon a Ghost Girl, make this. This just draws a card and pops monster your opponent controls and is a 3,500. It also protects your Boss Stage tokens if you don't have a Loptr out, which is pretty powerful because one of the best ways to deal with this deck is to just summon a shitter that punches over a couple of the tokens before dealing with the rest of the board. We've got a copy of Infinite Track Earthslicer because it is just good removal. We've got 2 copies of Jormungandr to go with our 2 copies of Leviathan. Leviathan is crazy powerful. We've got a Utopia Draco Future and a Utopic Future to turn 2 of our spent rank 9s into a Monster Negate, 2 Enter Blathnir, because this is just the most disgusting card you've ever read. This is not something to be doing completely in the blind in Game 1, because if your opponent is on Malice and you happen to hit one of their Malice monsters, you're just turning on your opponent's deck for them. But if you have sniffed out what your opponent is doing, or in further games you know exactly what they're doing, just hand looping them is really powerful. We've got 1 copy of Sacred Tree Beast Hyperiton, Finally, we've got a copy of Typhon because it's Typhon, an IP Masquerena, and an SP Little Knight to go into, and a World Gears of Theological Demiurgy. This is really, really powerful. If you make this with, for example, Harr, Mardel, and Vala, it is just an unaffected stick that wipes the entire board, and that's all it needs to do. Sideboard is pretty bog standard, 3 copies of Lancia, a copy apiece of Duster, Lightning Storm, and Triple Tactics Talent to find off of a Thrust, 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier, 1 copy of Simul Archfiends, and 3 Solemn Judgment to side out in place of the Fuwaloses when we are going first. So with that, let's get into some games. And welcome to round 1 of 3 of this episode of Advanced Yu-Gi-Oh! Opponent and I are scissoring, many such cases. Alright, we have lost the RPS, and we will be on the draw. Opponent is on 43 to our 40. We have opened on Ghost Belle, Vala, Droll, Fuwalos, and Ash. Moving into the main phase. I'm hoping we don't have to use this Droll and Lockbird because I would like to Fuwalos. We're going to have to use the Droll and Lockbird. There's an argument to be made for ashing our opponent here, but I think it's probably better to let our opponent get the tutor off so that we can Droll them. They do get to summon out this Poplar, which is kind of scary. They opened the Temple. That's really unfortunate. Yes, Temple is fine. They'll place the Oak. They can go Snake Eye Ash in order to send 2 of their cards to the graveyard in order to E-Telly, but we are going to Ash Blossom them there. I think that that is probably the best choice that we can make here. I'm not really sure what else we might want to do. This is going to have to be a case where we top deck something really powerful because opening on just Vala as far as generator names is pretty scary. And not really what we want to be seeing. Of course, the Fuwalos is going to be completely blank in our hand. Probably end up normal summoning it to be able to go into IP Masquerena or an SP Little Knight at some point. But we will see where this pans out. Opponent is going to go Snash, sending the Oak and the Snash, and we will Ash Blossom here. We do believe that that is the best place to be doing that. Opponent is going to link off the Poplar to go into a copy of Anima, and they will trigger the Poplar in order to place the Snake Eye Oak in their back row. And it is back to us. And we draw the Trios Hierarchica. Well, Trios Hierarchica is certainly not where we want to be. We kind of can't do anything here. We don't have 2 summons. Trios does in fact have to tribute at least 1 monster. Our only fairy monster is Vala, so that's not exactly ideal. Yeah, I think we're just passing the turn here. We've just completely bricked. This is the downside of playing Generator. Sometimes you just fucking brick, and it's really bad. So, we'll just have to hope that Vala, that somehow is out of gas. There's the normal summon Perulia. They're going to link those 2 off. There's an argument to be made for Fuwalosing in response to that. We probably should have. Almost certainly should have. There's the Moon. On summon of Moon, before they continue going, we're going to go for the Fuwalos in order to draw some cards. Hopefully we can draw some cards. We need to dig our way out of this. Obviously, hindsight 2020. Oh, there's the Ash Blossom. It's fine. Game is functionally over. Opponent can almost certainly find lethal from here. Just kind of depends on what their line is. There's the Requiem to summon out the Lacrima. Lacrima will probably mill over the Engraver. They have already normal summoned, however. So maybe we go Ghost Belle on the Engraver to prevent them from getting more material? I think that might be correct. I don't want them to get to anything further than that. I think that would be pretty bad for us. So hopefully yep, there's the Engraver, and we will go Ghost Belle on the Engraver to prevent it from being summoned. So this prevents them from going into sequence, hopefully. Okay, there's the Requiem to boost it by their Lacrima by 600. They will send off those 2 for the Dragon, This probably just does it for them. Yeah, just make sequence, and sequence goes into... Oh, going for Hita. Hita to summon our Ash Blossom. That is fine. What are they doing here? Are they going to make SP? Is that the plan? It's really interesting that they wouldn't just go for sequence there. Ah, no, Prom Princess. That makes sense. Yep. Prom Princess will summon a fire from their graveyard. They're going to summon Oak. Oak is going to special summon back Snash. Snash is going to tutor. Snash will tutor for Poplar. Poplar will summon itself. And they are completely off to the races. We are almost certainly dead here, but I do want to see them actually find lethal because there are ways in which they can fuck this up so that they don't find lethal. Opponent is having to think, so clearly they don't have the line just completely prepared in their head. It was just summon Oak, Oak summon Ash, Ash summon Tutor Poplar, Poplar summon itself. They don't, notably, they do not have another tutor off of the Poplar, which tells me that the only back row that they're playing is Divine Temple. They're going to go end main. That is fine. Oh, all their Snake Eye monsters are buffed by 1100, so we'll take 18 and 2000 and 19. And is that going to be lethal? That is going to be lethal. Okay. Against Snake Eye, what do we think is correct here? We're going to go Simul Archfiends. And side out the Fuwaloses. Simul Archfiends and... Don't think we want Droll on the play here. And I think... What else can we side out? Oh, we can side out Nibiru, actually. We'll side out a Droll, the Nibirus. I think that's probably looking good. Dimensional Barrier doesn't really do anything that we want. Lancia doesn't interact with their deck. And maybe we'll go for a Talent instead of a Droll. Alright, done siding. We will be on the play this time. Luckily for us, our opponent doesn't have any idea what we're up to. Unlucky for us, we have, once again, opened hot fucking garbage. Well, Boss Stage, Imperm, and Pass. Opponent will draw for turn. We will go for Boss Stage in order to summon a Harr out of our deck. Opponent is going to go for a Fuwalos. That is fine. They can get one draw. We will special summon out the Harr and trigger the effect of the Boss Stage. Summoning 4 tokens. These are notably in attack position, and they are only 1500s. Arguably should have triggered the Harr there. Yeah, Nibiru is bad for us. I think we are just supposed to let this happen and have a huge fuck off token. Opponent is not easily going to be able to get over it. I think we want to infib here. Infib the Ash. No tutoring for you. If they go for Ash effect, sending off the Nibiru, we can Ash Blossom our opponent. Mitsurugi Ritual? Yeah, can't do anything about this because for some reason you cannot Ash Blossom the summon from hand version of this spell. For who knows why? I guess because it's tributing, not actually doing anything. They've got a Saji and an Arasama. They're gonna make Ame no Murakama no Mitsurugi. They're gonna trigger the Arasama, the Saji, and the Ame. Ame is going to wipe our board. They're gonna get 2 tutors off. And we are almost certainly just completely fucking boned here. We've got an Ash Blossom to maybe deal with something else. There's the Habakiri. Makes sense. I think from here, I mean, it does just entirely depend upon what our opponent continues to do. There's the Divine Temple of the Snake Eye that our opponent has managed to open in 2 games. Absolutely preposterous stuff, by the way. They're going to go end of main, and I believe that is just all she wrote. Yeah. We're going to take 19, 32, and 3000. Yep, just a little bit over lethal. Couldn't quite make it over the finish line. That's a little bit unfortunate. This is an interesting deck, though. As much as I dislike Mitsurugi, seeing it paired with Snake Eye is pretty darn cool. Unfortunate break in the first game, but those are going to happen. Just got completely steamrolled by an opponent who drew the absolute nuts multiple times. So, I will see you in round 2. Hello, and welcome to round 2 of 3 of this episode of Advanced Yu-Gi-Oh! We have lost the RPS. We will be on the draw. Opponent is on 40 to R40 as well. We have opened on Fuwalos, Loptr, Double Vala, and a Generaider Boss Stage. Let's see what our opponent goes for. This Fuwalos is going to have to carry us a pretty long way, although the Loptr does make things substantially easier. Opponent is going to set one and pass. Well, that's good news for us. Top decking a Loptr is not exactly where we want to be, but it's certainly not the worst case scenario. Opponent has indicated to us that they have no interaction. Generally not something I would advise doing. We're going to go normal summon Loptr. Loptr is going to sack himself off to summon out a... Does this summon in defense position? No, it does not. To summon out a Mardel. Mardel is going to grab a Hela, and we will go for the Vala, pitching the Hela, summon the Vala, trigger the Vala, special summon back the Hela, and then we will overlay for Leviathan and go for the Leviathan effect. I believe that's what we want to do. Is that what we want to do? I'm not actually sure now. I'm unconvinced. This is a once per turn, yes? Yes, it is. Alright, well, from here, so there's an argument to be made for activating Leviathan, but also on the table is just punching our opponent just a little bit and continuing to grind this game out. We've got a Hela, which can turn into a Loptr, which can turn into a Nidhogg, which is pretty good. Okay, well, let's go combat and punch our opponent. Let's see what they're up to. Opponent is playing Gladbeast. Well, in that case, let's go boss stage and let's pass the turn. We didn't use our normal summon. Maybe I should have gone Fuwalos into a copy of IP Masquerena. I forgot to trigger boss stage. Whee! Alright, well, that is certainly going to make things more difficult. Gladiator rejection being activated. That is fine. They do get to get an E-Telly off of our E-Telly if that's what we end up doing. Opponent is going to go Gladiator Beast comeback to summon back the Glad Beast Adarix. That's fine. Don't really care. If that's all they're doing, then we are pretty much in the clear. We'll just go Leviathan, yoink a couple of things, activate Jormungandr to have each of us draw some cards, and normal summon Ondal. Pass the turn. In the end step, we're going to go for the Leviathan in order to summon out the Jormungandr, and we will eat Atarix and the set back row. So, still in the end phase, we will go Jormungandr, discarding this Gladbeast charge. We will both draw a card, and I'm going to attach the Fuwalos to the Jormungandr, and opponent will attach a card from their hand or field to the Jormungandr. They're going to give us the Ondal. We will trigger the boss stage here in order to summon a Generaider monster from our deck. The Generaider monster that we want to summon here is probably still just Harr. These tokens stick around? No, they do not. Let's see if our opponent is going to activate the Gladiator rejection. Give them a moment. Looks like the answer to that question is no, so we will draw for turn. From here, it should just be a hop, skip, and a jump to lethal. The Jormungandr is 3,000 attack. Harr is 3,000 attack. And Hela can summon back Vala, but Vala can also just summon herself out. Let's pitch this other copy of Vala to summon. And then we will go effect and go to summon back. Let's go end main. We will go to combat. And yep, our opponent scoops it up right there. Okay, we're up against Gladbeast. Presumably we will be on the draw once again. I think this deck does a little teeny bit of comboing on turn 1, but I do not remember how it does so. I am pretty sure that they do not tutor particularly much. I don't think Nibiru is going to be what we want here. So let's swap some cards in, and click Done Siding. Presumably our opponent is going to put themselves on the play once again. Yep, opponent has put themselves on the play. We are on the draw. We have opened double Ghost Belle, Ash Blossom, Loptr, Harr. This hand looks pretty good. Normal summon Loptr, Loptr summon Mardel, Mardel tutor for Vala, Vala summon herself, summon back Harr. Pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. Opponent is going to go for an unexpected die. Sure, that's fine. That is not my battle. They're going to summon a Gladbeast Ondal, presumably. Opponent does, in fact, go for the Gladiator Beast Ondal. Opponent will then special summon a Test Tiger from their hand. It's pretty good. They can sack off the Test Tiger to spin back their Ondal and summon another Gladbeast from their deck. I think that does get their entire combo line off. They will go for the Test Tiger effect. However, I do believe that we want to Ash Blossom this. That's just a really powerful effect. I'm hoping they don't have another Test Tiger. That'd be pretty bad. Alright, summon a Atterix, normal summon an Atterix, and presumably they have linked off, yep, Test Panther. They're going to tutor for a Gladbeast card. Luckily, this does not allow them to tutor for Test Tiger. That would be pretty damn powerful if they could. Off of the Test Panther, they're going to grab Gladbeast Comeback in order to be able to reanimate. However, we have got the Ghost Belle to prevent that from happening as well. Opponent has seen enough there. That was a really easy match, unfortunately. But that is what happens when you play absolute jank like Gladbeast. We did, however, get to see the Generaider deck pop off a little bit, and I got to make a mistake in a game where it really didn't matter. But in any case, I will see you in the final round. Hello, and welcome to round 3 of 3 of this episode of Advanced Yu-Gi-Oh! We have won the RPS for the first time in this episode, and the first time in a while, I think, and we will be on the play. Let's go standby and to the main phase. Well, hand's not exactly great. We can go Anagon, summon the Harr, overlay those two into Levitin, and hope that that is going to be good enough, because we're not really doing anything else. Right. Anagon, reveal Harr. Opponent would like to read the QQ Anagon. Understandable, they've probably never seen this card before, as it only sees play as a one-of in this deck specifically. Opponent is fine with that. We will summon the Anagon and the Harr, and our opponent is going to think here. If they go for a Fuwalos, we're going to meet them with a Called by the Grave, and hopefully that's what it is, but I actually don't know what else it could be. Opponent is going to go Fuwalos. We will go Called by targeting the Fuwalos. Opponent is going to chain Fuwalos. Unfortunately, we are going to have to let that happen, because I can't just end on literally 0 interaction points. So here is Levitin. Opponent draws a card, and we will pass the turn there. Hopefully this Levitin is good enough. We've got an attached 2, a Droll and Lockbird, and a Ghost Belle as far as interaction points go. Opponent is going to lead on Imperm on Levitin. Yeah, that's unfortunately going to be fine. I believe the QQ, yeah, so it is now reset back to 2500. Opponent is going to go Ice Ryzeal. Alrighty. Well, we probably lose this game. We're going to summon an Ext. Ext will trigger. It's fine. Ext is going to tutor for a sword, and then on resolution, we will go Droll and Loptr. If our opponent has a Call by the Grave, they will probably need to use it here. And if they do not, presumably we have locked them out of doing anything particularly powerful with the rest of their turn, because, well, anything particularly powerful in air quotes, they still do get to make Detonator. Oh my gosh, Mitsurugi Prayers. Going to be met with a Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion. Opponent will not tribute off, which makes sense. It would not. I guess there's an argument to be seen. I guess they probably did that in response to the Droll and Loptr, so I should have slowed down a little bit. Opponent can overlay into some rank 4, almost certainly just going to be Detonator. Add a Detonator punch over the Leviathan, and that will probably be the entire game. We'd have to top deck into a Loptr or something. Or our opponent could go for Moon of the Closed Heaven, and they'll have the entire Fiendsmith line, and will be completely and utterly boned. Opponent is going to Engraver, sending off our Leviathan and the Requiem. That is unfortunate. Looks like our opponent is, in fact, on the Agnum Day, which means that they are going to get to punch in for a lot of damage. Yep, there's the Agnum Day to summon back the Desiree and equip it with the Fiendsmith sequence. Or they will not. Okay, that's interesting. We will get punched for 4,600, and we are not quite dead. Opponent did, in fact, have lethal? No, they did not. Okay. Alright, well, draw for turn. Vala is not going to do it. We do not have another generator, so we will just hit the concede button here. Alright. On the play versus Ryzeal Slop. Ryzeal Mitsu. We will side out the Fuwaloses, the Nibirus, and we will thin on a Droll and Loptr. Do I want these dimensional barriers? Let's put one in. This is the matchup for it, if nothing else is. Lancia, obviously not for this matchup. Those are for on the draw. I don't think we have anything really to side out for this dimensional barrier, so we're just gonna hit done siding and go to game 2. On the play in game 2, opening hand looks pretty sexy, I must say. Let's go for the effect of Vala pitching Harr. We'll summon back the Vala and the Harr, assuming our opponent is okay with this. If they brought in Perulias and they have Perulia here, that would suck pretty big time. I mean, what can you do about it? If they've got Meowls, Meowls would be good here as well. Let's go for the Vala effect to summon back the Harr. And then let's go... Opponent is going to go Fuwalos, chain to the Fuwalos, a monstrosity. Opponent is going to Ash Blossom the monstrosity. That's really quite unfortunate. Well, from here, I think we just overlay into the Leviathan and hope that that's good enough. I don't think we have anything else really that we can do. Solemn Judgment will have to be our sole other point of interruption. Actually, I don't think we are supposed to give our opponent any draws. We will lose out on the Vala, but we do get an Omni Negate with Harr if we choose to just leave it like this. Right? Banish it when it leaves the field. Yep, okay. We will pass the turn there. Giving our opponent no draws is exactly where we want to be. We need our opponent to have as few resources as possible in order to give ourselves the best chance of winning this game. And I must say, we're in a pretty decent spot for that. Opponent is going to go for the Forbidden Droplet, sending off Bestial Magnamut. We're going to go Solemn Judgment on this. Don't mind getting a nice 2-for-1 out of our opponent. And hopefully our opponent just kind of stumbles because of that. This Harr is really going to have to take us a long way, though. Opponent is going to go for an Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi. That is going to be fine. They will summon out a Saji, tribute off the Saji, trigger the effect of the Saji in order to tutor. They will get off the tutor of Mitsurugi Ritual, trigger the effect of Harr. Opponent is going to have to send a monster from their hand to the graveyard. Presumably they're going to send off the Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi, but if they have another monster in hand, they might go for that. Not really sure. Opponent is going to chain Mitsurugi Prayers, pitching the Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi. Do I want to negate this? I think the answer to that is no. That is going to be fine with me, right? Send one monster from their hand or field to the graveyard. So they do get to tutor. They get a special summon. So they're going to summon the Kusanagi and special summon out, presumably said Kusanagi. Harr resolves, and they will have to send the Kusanagi to the graveyard. Opponent will trigger the Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi. That is going to be fine. They'll add a Mitsurugi card from their deck to their hand. They're going to grab Ame no Murakamo no Mitsurugi. Opponent is going to go for Ritual. And we will activate Harr in order to negate that. And opponent will pass the turn there. Draw for turn. Draw being Ash Blossom is not what we want to see. We are just going to pass the turn. Hopefully this Ash Blossom can take us particularly far. They're going to go Prayers, no Tribute. We will go for Ash Blossom to negate that. Opponent passes on that. Draw for turn. Standby main. That's, once again, not what I wanted to see. Just need our opponent to not function for just barely long enough. Oh, the extra Ryzeal is almost certainly going to seal the deal. That was just about the best thing they could have top-decked. They couldn't have top-decked an Ash Blossom or something there. Opponent's going to summon out a sword, trigger the effect of the sword in order to tutor for an ice. Ice is going to summon another, and this is going to be the entire game. We are just dead here. I can overlay a detonator, summon the ice, summon another thing, and they will have well over lethal on board. Let's see them summon out the detonator, I guess. I'm just gonna scoop here. No need to continue to play out this game. That was a pretty unfortunate matchup, I must say. We just needed to top deck literally anything useful. There's an argument to be made for just biting the bullet and overlaying, but I think our best chance of success does in fact come with just leaving Harr on board. It means that we kind of don't have any resources, and because the monstrosity got negated, we didn't have access to the Mardel to tutor for the field spell, so we didn't have recurring tribute fodder. That's the problem with the Generaider monsters. We do just need to top deck Loptr in order to win in that case, although we did have quite a few live draws. We could have drawn into another copy of Vala to pitch off of this Kujikiri curse, and potentially drawn into another Generaider card and get our engine rolling that way. So we had a decent number of outs. Let's see what our next top deck was. Our next top deck was going to be a World Legacy Monstrosity, so we were going to continue to certainly not function for the rest of the game. But, you know, it happens. The deck's not very good. Obviously didn't do particularly well with it. We beat a really bad deck and lost to pretty decent decks, but let's talk about that some more in the wrap-up. These were some pretty unfortunate matches, I must say. Match 1 against Snake Eye was pretty unfortunate, to say the least. I keep saying unfortunate, but, you know, it is how it is. That's how it goes sometimes. The only win being against Gladiator Beast is a little unfortunate, because that deck just isn't very good. But neither is this deck, as it turns out. I was not exactly a huge fan of a lot of things about this deck. I think what am I saying if for? When I revisit this deck in the future, there will be some pretty major changes I'll make. I'm not a fan of our numbers of level 9 monsters and just Generaider cards in general being so low. Vala needs you to open another Generaider name, which is subversive to what the deck usually wanted in the past, but just completely changes the texture of how the deck wants to be played. I think Nidhogg is cute. It's probably the right choice, but I'm not sure. I think maybe there should be an Utgarda in the sideboard to replace one of these dimensional barriers, because there are some matchups where Nidhogg just doesn't do anything, although in those matchups you do just probably summon the Harr off of the boss stage. But if your Harr is already in rotation or you have access to a Loptr or whatever. Aside from that, some other stuff, I wasn't a big fan of Kujikiri Curse. Felt like complete brick when I saw it the one time, and just, again, you're just not playing enough level 9 monsters. I get the appeal of sending the Vala, and I should have done that in game 1 of Melch 3. I just completely forgot that Vala can summon herself out of the graveyard. We could have had access to way more cardboard and just been rolling a little bit better. But, you know, them's the breaks, that's how it happens. You learn, you play some more. Curse just, it feels a little bit not quite good enough for the modern day. QQ Enagon, again, probably just not on enough level 9 monsters to turn this beater on. This guy's huge, it's so powerful, but I think we just need another boss or two in here. I think you could probably argue to switch out the 2 Kujikiri Curses for a copy of Utgarda and another copy of Harr, just to have your Enagon and your Vala turned on a little bit more frequently. Aside from that, I think that the rest of the choices in this deck are pretty good, pretty close to optimized. A better pilot would have played this much better. Obviously, I'm not the best at this deck. This is not something I play consistently. I have certainly learned a lot about playing Generaider, and I hope you learned a little bit as well from my own misplaying. So, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to please like if you got this far, subscribe for updates, and comment what you liked or didn't like about what you saw. Do what you can to boost the algorithm. It helps way more than you think. And if you'd like to chat with me more directly, or if you'd like to support me financially, there are links to both of those things in the description of this video. The link to chat with me is a link to the Entity Archetype Discord server. If you're interested in that as well, feel free to check it out. It's pretty cool. It's got some cool people in there. We're cooking up some Hastor control builds, if any of that interests you. So, hopefully I see you there. Toodles!